Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Unicorns and Typewriters. My name is Skylar and I'm back today with another exciting booktube video. So in today's video, I wanted to do another bookshelf organizing / filling video. I brought over a ton more books, and most of these books are actually Owlcrate books that I've gotten in past boxes that I have not gotten to read yet. And I'm so excited to put these on my shelves so they're right in front of my face, and so I can easily just pull one from the shelf and read whenever I'm ready to. Some of these I've been wanting to read for a really long time and have been on my list and I've talked about in TBRs and I just have not read yet. And others I don't really think I've talked about much at all, other than maybe if I did the original unboxing with them. So I'm going to kind of talk about some of the books that I want to highlight that I'm most excited to read, and then the rest I'll just kind of show you me putting them on the shelf. I'm gonna do this video a little differently than the last one, hopefully a little bit better than the last one. Constantly improving, am I right? Because I didn't really I felt like I was blocking the shelves too much, so I'm gonna do this a little differently. Let's see how it goes. Thanks for sticking with my channel if you've been all along. I know it's been a little bit of a slow process of me getting my channel set back up, and I really appreciate your support. Let's get started. So I have a couple contemporary books that I'm really excited to add to my shelf that were not Owlcrate books that I have already read. They're all books that I've read, but I just wanted to talk about them really fast before I put them on the shelf because they're all books that I really loved reading. And the first one is The Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Bourne. It's by a UK author, so I actually kind of heard about it a lot through YouTube, booktube, and bookstagram, and so I was really interested in it, and I was sorry I didn't pick it up while I was living in England because that would have been slightly easier since it was kind of hard to get a hold of in the States, but it's a really beautiful paperback copy with purple sprayed edges, which I feel like is not super common when it comes to paperback copies of books, but it's really beautiful, and it is about an abusive relationship, so trigger warning with that, but it's just a very healing, heartfelt novel about relationships and kind of how poorly they can go, but also there's a lot of hope within it as well. And I really enjoyed this read, and I'm really happy to be able to add it to my contemporary shelf. Another contemporary book that I read this past year is I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Marine Gu, and I absolutely adored this book. It is such a cute book. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm into K-pop, and I've probably also a couple times mentioned that I'm into K-dramas. And this book references K-dramas pretty much throughout the entire book because it's about a girl who has this huge crush on a guy, but she doesn't know how to approach crushes, and so she kind of approaches them the way she approaches the rest of her life, and especially her sort of academic life, which is by basically studying K-dramas and using the formulas that they use in K-dramas to try to win over this guy. And as you might be able to guess, a lot of things go wrong because K-dramas are not really realistic at all. But it was really cute and fun to read. It was humorous, and I absolutely adored this one, and I highly suggest it if you're looking for a cute, fun, rom-com kind of book that is also having to do with K-dramas. If you like K-dramas, you'll love this book and the references in it. So highly recommend. Another book that I have is To Drink Coffee with a Ghost by Amanda Lovelace. I actually do own all of Amanda Lovelace's books, but I've been a little slow bringing them over. I have one other here that I just read recently, but this one was just kind of in the stack that I could grab easily, so I did grab this one. I would like to bring the rest of them over because I think I am gonna try to do a poetry section, but for now I might keep the poetry books with contemporary until I have all my poetry books here. So, because all of the poetry books I have are really contemporary. I love Amanda Lovelace. I think I've said that before. I highly recommend her poetry books, especially to people who are just getting into poetry. I think they're super relatable and just very healing and heartfelt. There are many sort of trigger warnings with these books, but they are listed inside the books as well, so you kind of know what you're getting into. They definitely tackle some really hard topics with relationships, family, and friendship, but they're well worth the read, and I think that a lot of people will find them really relatable and healing. Another contemporary book that I'm excited to add to my shelf is actually a graphic novel. So I don't know exactly how I'm doing graphic novels yet. I also may end up putting them on their own shelf. I probably will, but I'm still figuring out how many shelves I have and how many books I have and how I want to work that out. But it is called Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Mariko Tamaki and Rosemary Valero O'Connell. And this book is so cute. I really loved it. It also talks a lot about relationships, toxic relationships. It is a graphic novel. I really loved the artwork. All of the artwork inside is like black and pink, and I think it's really cute and just very well done. Obviously, it won the Prince Award for Excellence in Young Adult Literature, so you can tell from that already that it's pretty groundbreaking. It was really cute, and it is about this girl who likes another girl named Laura Dean, and she keeps breaking up with her. Obviously, it has really good queer character representation, and it's so relatable though, no matter who you date and who you love. I think that it's incredibly relatable to anyone that is navigating relationships. So yeah, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Very excited to put this on my shelf. I mean, this book is gorgeous. It's gonna look so pretty. Another non-Owlcrate book that I'm excited to add to my shelf is These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly. I actually was lucky enough to have an ARC copy of this book, an advanced reader copy, and I never read it because I'm special. I was working in a bookstore when it came out, and I so totally should have read it. It would have been so cool if I'd read it before it came out, but I didn't. And then I was at a used bookstore and I saw a nice, pretty hard copy of it, and I couldn't resist. So I've had this for a little while now, and I just have not gotten around to reading it. As you can see on my shelf behind me, Revolution, I believe you can see it, is her other book that I've read and absolutely love. Revolution is one of my favorite books of all time. I believe that Jennifer Donnelly has an amazing ability to write historical fictions, and this book is another historical fiction. I'm very excited to read it because of how strongly I feel about Revolution. I've actually been really wanting to reread Revolution, so hopefully I will at some point. But yeah, I'm so excited to put this on my shelf. Some non-Owlcrate fantasy books that I brought over were The Little Prince. I'm so happy to put The Little Prince on my bookshelf. I read this for the first time a couple years ago. I'd never read it as a child or anything. I don't really think it should be considered a children's book. It's definitely really mature, and it talks about some very deep and alarming topics, but I kind of love it. And I don't know, maybe it could be a children's book if you actually discussed it with a child, but I don't think it's something you would just like read to them and be like, the end, sleep well, honey. Like, it's kind of like, it makes you question so many things. It's a really cool book, and I'm so glad I read it, and I'm very excited to put it on my shelf. The next book I brought over is The Twisted Tree by Rachel Burge. I think this book is like gorgeous. I love the cover. That's what drew me to it. This is a UK book. I bought it while I was living in England. I don't know how available it is in the States, but I thought it was really interesting. It is about a girl, Martha. You can tell things about people by just touching their clothes. And she goes to visit her grandmother's house after her grandmother has passed away, and there's a strange boy living in the house. I started reading it. I actually got about a third of the way in, and I never finished it, and I really want to. It's definitely spooky, and I think that's part of why I stopped reading it, because it creeped me out a lot, and I was just in a weird time in my life, and I didn't feel like being creeped out. So I definitely want to return to reading this. I'm excited to have it here so that at some point I pick it back up. I'm not sure if I'll have to start over, if I can keep going. If you have read this book, let me know what you think of it. I'd love to hear your opinions on any of the books I've talked about so far, but I'd love to know if you think this one is worth the read. Another book that I picked up at my favorite used bookstore is The Bone Charmer by Brianna Shields, and I'm really excited to read this one. It kind of is self-explanatory. It is about a bone charmer, about a girl who has two paths in life that she could follow, and she ends up sort of following both. It sounds like she kind of like splits herself in two, or there's like some time travel involved. I'm not really sure, but I'm really interested to see how this book goes, and I'm really excited to pick it up sometime soon. I believe it did come in some sort of box subscription, which I do not get, and I did see that online after I bought it, but I got it at the used bookstore, so it was a really good deal, and I was very excited to have it. It sounds like it's a series, so I'm very excited to delve into it and see what I think. It sounds like right up my alley of witchy, dark stuff. So another book that is not an Owlcrate book that is long overdue for me to read is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I've been wanting to read this book for a really long time. I actually started reading it at one point. I only got like maybe a chapter or two in, and I just wasn't in the mood, I think, for like an epic fantasy at the time. So I really, really want to read this one. I know that it's also a series, or is it just 2 books? I can't remember, but obviously it had a ton of hype around it when it first came out, and I'm really sorry that I haven't read it already. So I would really like to read this soon. I'm glad to put it on my shelf as well. And I won't bore you all by talking about them for long, because I've talked about them multiple times because they've been on my TBR so many times in the past. But here, There Are Monsters by Amanda Berube and Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter are 2 creepy, spooky books that I bought sometime last year. I've talked about them a few times, really wanted to read them, still haven't read them. I'm definitely gonna read them soon. Owlcrate books, I think for the time being that I have not read yet, I'm going to put all on the same shelf, just because some of them I can kind of tell if they're fantasy, contemporary, whatever. Actually, most of the ones I think I have are fantasy at this point. But I think I'm gonna put them all on the shelf below my Maggie Stiefvater shelf that you can kind of see behind me. And then I will, as I read them, disperse them where they actually belong with other similar books. Let's get started. Love doing these organizing videos, and I really hope that you all enjoyed watching. Also, this is definitely not the last video I will be doing when it comes to filling and organizing my bookshelf. Obviously, I still have a lot of space and I have a ton more books. My old bookshelf was just a fraction of the size of one of these shelves, but I had the books on it like double stacked. Like I had 2 rows of books on every shelf. So yeah, it's a lot. But I will do another video like this soon. I hope that this one is improved to the last one I did. I hope you all enjoy the way I'm filming this one. Let me know in the comments, but I will do probably at least one more part to this video before I'm finished, just so that you guys can see me putting most of my books on the shelf, if not all of them. If you enjoyed watching, please like this video, comment below and let me know what you think of these books. If you either saw one that I was talking about at the beginning of the video, or you caught one that I was putting on my shelf that is a favorite of yours, or one that you actually hated, I don't know. Let me know below in the comments. I always like to hear if I should like put one to the top of the list, or if I should put one to the bottom of the list. It's always nice to know other people's opinions, and I really enjoy talking with you all. So let's have a conversation down below. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. I really appreciate your support, and I will be back with another booktube video soon. Have a good rest of your week, everyone. Bye.